NAS have organised for me to meet two people living with AS today. I'm at the very beginning of my journey and I'm hoping I'm going to learn more about this disease. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's lovely to meet you both. I'm on my early stages of this journey of AS and I really want to know more. Gillian, for you, how long was the process from thinking, okay, there's something really wrong with me, to, right, I've got my diagnosis? What was the journey for that?
7 to 8 years, because when I was diagnosed, which was in the 80s, I was told for many years that there was nothing wrong with me. It was all in my head, it was my lifestyle, so I was bringing children up on my own and I was working. But I knew my own body and I knew that there was something not right. And after 7 years of battling, I finally got the help and was diagnosed. And I can always remember the rheumatologist's words to me, "You've got an incurable disease to your spine." And I immediately thought, incurable, I'm going to die. Because I had to go through spinal surgery. That in itself is frightening. I don't want people of your age to have to go through that.
I also feel like I've had to fight for treatment, and I also feel like I've had to fight to be taken seriously. So for me, my first symptom was when I was 19. And it was actually nothing to do with my spine or my joints. I had inflammation of my eye called uveitis, like a load of different medication, constant appointments with the doctors just to try and preserve my vision. And when I was 26 and following a half marathon, I had this really kind of acute pain in my hip, what felt like my hip. I remember sitting there with my physio saying, look, I've got all these other symptoms. Do you think this could be AS? No. Well, I woke up one day and I could not get out of bed. The pain was so severe, at which point I thought, okay, I'm not gonna just take no for an answer. And then I basically requested an MRI. And then eventually at the end of 2019, I met a rheumatologist and he said, we've got your MRI results. We can see there's inflammation in your sacroiliac joints, which means ultimately you've got AS. It does really worry me to think that I've had to be incredibly self-sufficient, proactive, resourceful to know what's going on with me, to seek the right help, to challenge medical professionals that have basically said, just go away, don't worry about it, you know, it'll be fine.
My journey started when I was 17 and I was actually on crutches, and it didn't happen for me, the diagnosis, until my early 30s. I was told I had growing pains and I got told, you know, it was just inflammation. I don't think that's because nobody did their job properly. You know, people were searching and trying to find answers, but I think the lack of information, the lack of resources, and you're very up forward looking for your diagnosis. You're very lucky to do that. Obviously, it's been really tough for you, but you seem really positive. How's life? How are you getting on with things now?
The beauty of AS is that there's obviously a spectrum of how severe the disease is. And in that uncertainty of nobody can tell you just how bad you're going to get, also nobody can tell you just how well you can do ultimately. So I've chosen that uncertainty for me to mean that I can essentially be as positive as I want to be. But I've started doing more yoga, I've started doing HIIT sessions, and actually it's really fun. I'm having to look after my body, but that could be a really positive thing and you can take pride in that.
I know I definitely struggle being a mum of somebody that's really little. You know, he's very energetic, he wants to play all the time, but you know, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm wiped out. And I find for me, the fatigue is sometimes worse than the pain. Because you had young children at the time, it's just incredibly difficult, isn't it?
I love children and I was frightened that I wouldn't be able to do what other grandmothers do. Your son, he'll grow up knowing what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm making real conscious choices about, I have to adapt. Do I want to stand on stage for 2 hours, or will I go and get a bench halfway through? And I actually give a better show and I give a better performance, and it's almost acceptance again. I cannot tell you, when I got that diagnosis, I went, same as you, am I going to die? No. Okay, well then let's just
deal with
That's
it.
good.
That's
good
okay,
enough.
yeah. Meeting Dasha, meeting you, knowing there's this whole world of AS sufferers out there, you do feel less alone. Let's talk about it. I do feel such relief, but actually,
You're not alone.
I'm not alone, and it's just lovely meeting you here today. That was so interesting, meeting Dasha and Gillian, two people living with AS but with very different stories. I don't feel so alone anymore. I feel like I can really fight this now. I'm ready to become an AS warrior.